Hello, Crochet Girlies, and welcome back to whatever the hell this is. Today we have the 500 subscriber Q&A video. So guys, I want to start this video out by saying thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart for getting me to 500 subscribers. To some people, that may not seem like a lot, and I understand. But after a lot of hard work and dedication, I am finally starting to see the numbers going in my favor. And that just really means the world to me that you guys support what I'm doing here and that you guys want to be a part of something. And it just truly makes me so happy to know that in some way, in some fashion, my videos mean something to somebody. And for it to mean something to somebody 500 times really is just really surreal to me, and it's really crazy to think about. So I just want to say thank you so much. You guys mean the world to me, and I am so happy to have my little group of crochet girlies. So, here's what I did, because I film on my phone, so I can't be like reading off my phone while I do the questions and everything. So I have written all of the questions down, and I will be going through them all. So if you left a comment on the last video that is not included in this Q&A, or if you left a comment after I have filmed this Q&A, eventually I will answer them all. I'm thinking about doing a part 2 to this video. If any of you guys have any more questions, or if you would like to leave a question in the comments, I will gladly answer them all. Just let me know. So let's kick this off with the first question. So at Iris Santana 8403 asks, have you considered making some fun challenges like what can I crochet in 24 hours or Pinterest picks my crochet projects? Also, have you ever crocheted any holiday decorations? Okay, so I will answer this in a couple parts. First of all, I have considered doing some of those challenges, like what can I crochet in 24 hours, Pinterest picks my crochet projects, etc., etc. I would love to do that, and it is definitely something that I plan on doing. I'm just like trying to find the right time to do it. Something like Pinterest picks my crochet projects is going to be a lot easier for me to do, considering I have a lot of things to do every single day. I have a lot of animals, I have a lot of chores to do around the house, things like that. What can I crochet in 24 hours is going to be a little more time consuming for me. And I know I don't have to straight shot 24 hours. Obviously, a lot of the people on YouTube don't, but I do plan on doing that at some point, just not anytime soon. I may do something like the Pinterest picks my crochet project soon. I can do that pretty simply. I am an avid Pinterest user. A lot of the crochet ideas that I get are from Pinterest or inspired by things I've seen on Pinterest. Yeah, be looking forward to some of those videos in the future. However, I do have a few crochet vlogs already filmed and planned out to be released this month. So probably not this month, but you can count on the fact that I will do a video like that at some point. And part 2 of your question, have you ever crocheted any holiday decorations? Yes, I have crocheted a lot of holiday decorations, actually. The reason I don't really crochet holiday decorations for my shop anymore is because I end up with a lot of leftover stock at the end of the season that nobody wants to buy after the holiday has come and went. So unfortunately, you probably won't be seeing any like Christmas stockings or little ghosts or things like that anytime soon, just because I feel like they don't sell that well. And when things don't sell that well, I get really demotivated to make them, you know? But I do make holiday decor for my own house. I have crocheted the stockings for my bunnies. I crocheted them little stockings. And then I also crocheted a little bit larger stockings for my dogs. And I'm kind of planning on making a couple more large stockings for me and Man. And then I will have like matching crochet stockings up on my mantle. And I would think that would be really cool. Also, I have crocheted Christmas ornaments, which actually were a big seller for me at one point in time. However, that kind of died off, and I don't really make them for my shop anymore, but I do use them myself for my tree, as well as I've made like door hangers with like snowflakes and things like that. And I've made my dog's Christmas sweaters. I would actually like to remake some Christmas sweaters this year, but I don't really need to. We don't bring our dogs out with us very often because we don't go out very often, and when we do, we're not out very long. So I may wait until next year to do something like that, but I have made those. And then I usually make some seasonal decor for my house every year, regardless of whether I'm making them for my shop or not. So like for fall, I have velvet pumpkins that I put out in my house. I have little like ghost, they were rear view mirror hangings, but I like to hang them on my doors because the ones that didn't sell in my shop last year, I just kept. I do have a couple rustic looking pumpkins on my shop currently. Those are the only seasonal decor that I'm probably going to do this year, and I'm cool with that. Like, that's totally fine. And also for like spring, summertime, I make these little like lily of the valley rear view mirror hangings, except I don't use them in my car. I use them in my house. I put them on the doors, things like that. So in short, yes, I've crocheted many holiday decorations, but I do not sell them anymore for the most part. Okay, sorry for the long-winded answer, but hopefully that answered your question. Now on to the next question. From J Miss. Sorry if I pronounced your name. I'm going off your YouTube so if any of these pronunciations are wrong, my apologies. Okay, this is a two-part question as well. First, can you introduce your dogs to us? And second, are you thinking about making new items for your shop, like, for example, book covers? I will answer the second part of your question first. I am always actively thinking about making new items for my shop. I would like to make book covers. I gifted a few book covers last year, and they ended up being an overall success. I just feel like it's a little bit of a niche market to do book covers, but also I feel like there's a lot of overlap in the fiber arts and reading communities. So I would love to make some book covers for my shop, and I will be adding that to my ever-growing list of projects that I want to do for my business. But overall, I am always thinking about new items that I can make for my shop. And to answer part one of your question, absolutely I can introduce you to my dogs. I'm going to go ahead and move to the floor so you can see them, and I will be right back. Alrighty guys, so I'm gonna go in order of when I adopted them. So first we have my Georgie Porgy. This is George. It's gonna be hard to get them to sit in one spot for any amount of time. Come here, George. Okay, I had to get treats to get him to sit here for any amount of time. He doesn't want to sit here, obviously. Hey, So Georgie is a Staffordshire Terrier pit, you know, just a pitty mix. And so George's story is we got him from a rescue, a local rescue. He was found on the streets of Mobile, Alabama, in the kind of abandoned area of Mobile. He was obviously dumped. Georgie, come here, buddy. Come here. He was obviously dumped. He had been roaming the streets for a while, and he had been attacked pretty mercilessly by the other dogs that were also strays out there. They were kind of ganging up on him. And so the rescue was actually able to catch him, and they ended up getting him fixed and all of that. And he ended up being at the rescue for like 8 or 9 months without any interest in him whatsoever. And we just happened to be at our normal hangout, and there was a dog adoption going on down the road. So we walked over to the dog adoption, not expecting to get any dogs. At the time, we had a Great Dane, my Great Dane Kane, who passed away a couple months ago. But at the time, we had Kane, and we didn't know if he was going to be good with any other dogs, so we weren't really looking for another dog. So we went to the adoption, and we were walking around and looking at all the dogs. None of the dogs were speaking to me. Of course, we didn't go in there looking for a dog, so obviously I love all dogs, but I did not expect to get a dog that day. And then from across the adoption event, I see this dog, this beautiful brindle pitty mix, and he's staring at me with these eyes, not looking at anybody else, just staring at me. And as soon as I locked eyes with him, I ran over there and immediately knew this is the dog. After a lot of deliberation and deciding if it was a good idea to bring a dog into the house with my Great Dane, we decided we're gonna get him. And we found out he was heartworm positive, which is fine. It's fine. We got him all of the treatment that he needed. It ended up being like an 8-month process, but he is happy and healthy and amazing. And Georgie ended up being best friends with my Great Dane. They connected right away. They slept together every single night. He obviously took my Great Dane's death the hardest of all the dogs. They were besties. George is around 6 years old now. We got him 3.5 years ago or something like that. And overall, he is just the best dog in the world. I wouldn't change it for a thing. I am a sucker for pitties. I don't think pitties get enough credit. And he's just overall an amazing dog. So that's George. Now I'm going to go ahead and move you over to the couch where Honey Bear is sitting, my second adoption in order, and I will introduce you to her. So this beautiful, beautiful little girl is Miss Honey Bear. She is a pitty mix, obviously. She is the sweetest dog ever. Oh my God, she is the best. I adopted Miss Honey Bear from our local animal shelter. Her name was originally Flower, and I hated that, so I changed it. She is the sweetest girl in the whole wide world. When I adopted her, they gave me a little bit of her background story. Basically, she had been tied up in somebody's backyard and used for a breeding project. Basically, while she was tied up in that person's backyard, she had developed a massive double ear infection, skin allergies, a bunch of different things. And the tree that she was tied to, she had rubbed her head on so much that her ears and her head were completely bald, bleeding, scabbed up, just So sad. She had had a litter of puppies right before the shelter got her. The shelter believes that she gnawed through the rope that was connecting her to the tree because the rope was still connected to her neck when they found her wandering. She was what I would call a severe case of neglect and a failed breeding project and a bunch of things. I don't support breeders in any capacity. That's just my beliefs. And it made me really sad to see her story. So originally I actually went to the animal shelter to check out another dog. I hadn't even seen Honey's picture. I had seen a dog named Maverick online he was a pitty mix. He had a big fat head, little legs, little body. He was just like a funny looking dog. But when I went to meet him, he just wasn't speaking to me, you know? And one of the reasons why I adopt my dogs is because they speak to me. There's something about them that just hits me right in the heart that I know immediately when I see them that I have to have this dog. So I went to see Maverick, and he was a sweet dog. There was nothing wrong with him by any means, but the shelter had just got him, and he wasn't really interested in me. He was more interested in kind of laying in his kennel and all of that, and I totally get it. Being in a shelter is very scary. It's very loud. It's cold. It's sad. I get it. But he just wasn't speaking to me. So I asked the lady if she would just walk me through all of the kennels. I just wanted to see all the dogs, and I probably wouldn't go home with a dog. It was also National Dog Day, so all of the adoption fees were half price, which didn't mean anything to me. I would have paid full price for Honey Bear any day of the week. But I walked down this row of dogs, all the males, and I was like, okay, they're all very sweet, very nice dogs. They would all be great dogs. Not really interested, though. And we weren't looking to add another dog either. I was just kind of interested in the one dog. So then I'm like, okay, will you take me over to the females? I would just like to take a look. So I'm walking down the kennels, and I don't see anything that's really catching my eye. And then the very last kennel in the female dogs was this bald dog that was just so excited to see me. She was just jumping up and down. She was so happy. Her butt was wiggling. She was just so excited to have somebody there to see her. And I wasn't even there for her, but she felt that I was there for her. And I decided, okay, immediately I felt a connection to this dog. Yes, she had a double ear infection. Yes, she had massive skin problems. Yes, she was missing like 60% of her hair. But something about this dog, her eyes, she's just the sweetest dog in the world. So I took her out into the yard, into the animal shelter's yard to play with her. And I threw the ball once, and she didn't even want to chase the ball. She just wanted to be all over me. She was licking my face. She was jumping up on me. And I was like, you know what? I don't even need to play with her anymore. This is the dog. So they told me that she had a few vet appointments that she had to go to before I could adopt her, but I could sign the papers then and there. So I signed the papers immediately. I ended up paying them full price and donating the other half of the adoption fee to the shelter because it was half off for National Dog Day. And when I went back to get her, she remembered me. She was so excited. She literally couldn't contain her excitement. She was dragging me through the parking lot. It was amazing. And Honey Bear was definitely the easiest adjustment to the house. She came in here, she got right up on the recliners that we used to have before we had this couch. She jumped right up. She was in my lap. She was laying with George. She was laying with Kane. She has just been an amazing dog. And I wouldn't trade this beautiful baby for anything in the whole world. She is the best dog ever. She's just so sweet. The sweetest dog in the world. She does continue to have chronic ear infections. That's something she's going to have her whole life because of the amount of damage that was done when she was in that person's backyard. But she's the best dog in the world. Wouldn't change it for a thing. She does still have skin allergies, but I give her supplements that really help. So that's why she's not bald anymore. But she is also the laziest dog in the world. In 90% of my videos, you see her laying next to me like this. She just loves to sleep. Loves to sleep. That's why they call Staffies or bully breeds house hippos, because they are lazy. They are fat and lazy, and all they want to do is sleep. So, that's Miss Honey Bear, and now I'm going to bring you back over to the floor, and we will introduce Freddie. Alrighty, so this is our little lowrider, Freddie. Mr. Freddie. So we got Freddie from the same rescue that George came from. They were having another adoption event where we hang out normally. And we always go to the adoption events, but most of the time we don't come home with the dog. Freddie has almost been with us for a year. Oh, I forgot to mention, Honey Bear is 5. She's 5 years old. Fredward here is our newest addition. We got him a little less than a year ago. We're coming up on a year. And he was at the adoption event. They had a bunch of kennels outside the event, and we were walking around, we were looking at the dogs. None of them were really speaking to us. And then my man said, if we're getting a dog, it's going to be that one. And he pointed right at Freddie. And Freddie was laying he was dragging his leg around. He was dragging himself across the ground. His little paper that had all of his information on it said he was a Basset mix. So we were like, because it's the man's dream to have a Basset. That was his favorite dog ever, and he's never had one. So we thought, well, what better way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone than to rescue a dog who is half Basset, half Pity, or whatever, and give him a good life, because looking at him, we thought there's no way anybody's going to adopt this dog. And one thing about us is we love the dogs that nobody wants. With George, he had been at the rescue for 8 months, no interest. With Honey Bear, nobody was going to adopt a dog who was bald, double ear infection, skin infection, UTI. She had all the problems in the world, and she was hyper when I went to see her. So I didn't think there was any way she was going to get adopted. And little Freddie here, we saw him. He was obviously, there was something wrong with him. We couldn't tell what it was at the time. The rescue did not tell us what was wrong with him until about 2 weeks after we adopted him. So basically, that night that we saw him, we decided to walk back to the bar, contemplate if we were going to adopt him or not. And by the time we decided that we were going to adopt him, by the time we decided that we were going to adopt him, he was gone. So we were really upset, but we were like, well, hopefully he found a good home, blah, blah, blah. And we asked the guy who was running the adoption event, what happened? Did he find a good home, blah, blah, blah? And they said, no, actually, there was so little interest in him that the foster mom picked him up early and went home. And I immediately got on the phone with the owner of the rescue, who I obviously know because of George and another adoption that we had that I'm not going to get into, that ended up being the only fail of all of our adoptions. We ended up having to return him to the rescue. I'm not getting into that. That was a really emotional, horrible thing that I went through. I immediately got on the phone with the owner of the rescue. I was like, please, please, please tell her to turn around her car and come back. We want Freddie, whose name was Ninja. by the way. Horrible name for a dog who couldn't walk. Anyway, she says she's all the way back at her house, which is like an hour away from us. They said, we'll meet you tomorrow. And we were like, perfect. So we filled out all the forms, paid the fee, all of that. We met her at a cute little diner out in the middle of nowhere. And we got Freddie. We immediately obviously changed his name from Ninja to Fred because Ninja was just like a no. But when we got him, we got handed a little packet of his shelter information, the shelter that he was at before he went to the rescue. And there were a couple like vet papers in there that really didn't tell us much. It told us that his quality of life was good and that he was heartworm positive, and a bunch of other stuff. And we got all of his treatments when we adopted him. So that was great and everything. And then about 2 weeks after we adopted him and had seen how much he struggled to walk, and run around and everything, and how much his leg was hurting him, we finally got sent a file of all of his vet paperwork, which is a little bothersome to me that they didn't tell me up front what was wrong with him, but it's okay. It's fine. We are happy with him. There's no problem with it whatsoever. So we found out that he was, in fact, thrown from a car and possibly hit by another car. He broke his leg in 2 different places, including his hip, and it had healed on its own. So he was having a hard time bending his leg because the bones healed improperly. Apparently, the vet was considering amputation, but they decided that overall his quality of life was going to be good without amputation, and that more than likely he would regain function of his back leg. It would just be malformed. We also found out that he has osteoarthritis in his back legs, probably from being thrown from a car and all of those things. So anyway, we started him on some joint supplements and have been giving him his heartworm treatment every month. This month actually is his last heartworm treatment. He will be heartworm negative. I believe that he is already heartworm negative, but you're supposed to finish out the cycle just in case. But since getting Freddie and getting him on those joint pills, he has become so agile. His leg does not hurt him anymore whatsoever. He doesn't limp anymore. He has no discernible issues. Nothing seems to be wrong with him anymore, which is fantastic. Better than I ever could have imagined. Do I think we will probably have issues down the line with his arthritis? Yeah. Freddie is 3 to 4 years old, and we decided to do a DNA test on him. Come to find out, Freddie is not a basset hound at all. He has the little short legs and everything like that because he is pit bull Pomeranian and like a couple other things. He's got like coon hound in him and some other stuff. He's a mutt, obviously. But see his short widow legs? He's just the sweetest dog in the world. His favorite thing ever is playing with toys. He just enjoys it so much. He loves to run around, jump up and down. He's just overall a fantastic dog, and I'm so glad we got you, buddy. He's the happiest dog in the world. Yeah, that is all of my dogs. Hopefully that was enough of an in-depth introduction to them all. Unfortunately, I feel like this segment kind of went on a little too long, but that's okay because they are the light of my life, and I love them more than anything in the whole world. I know it, buddy. He also sheds like crazy, so if you ever see me covered in dog hair, it's from this one. It's from this one. Here, I'll let you see how little he is. Come here, buddy.
Come here. I do do. Oh, look at your little wags. Look at them little wags. Yeah. Do you little huppies? Do you little huppies? I do, baby. I do, baby.
All right, so I'm going to take you back over to my desk and we will continue with the questions. So, sorry for the long answer to that question, but obviously I wanted to give you a little background on their stories. I didn't want to just tell you that they're my dogs. Like, I wanted to give you their full stories and where they came from and why it means so much to me to rescue dogs and to never, ever, ever support breeders. That's just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, but yeah. Okay, on to the next question. At thedog._.person. For a Q&A, how many pets do you have and what's all their names? Oh boy, this will be a long one because I have a lot of pets. So, I have Freddie, George, and Honey. Those are my 3 dogs. I have 2 outdoor cats that we are currently trying to make indoor-outdoor cats and eventually indoor cats. But for right now, they're outdoor cats until I can get Sweet Pea to want to come in. But their names are Moxie and Sweet Pea. They are the offspring of a stray cat that my neighbors took in, who ended up getting pregnant and having a bunch of kittens. And of course, I'm going to take a couple of the kittens. So of course I took in 2 of the kittens, and they're great. I got them both fixed after, unfortunately, they both got pregnant, which was awful, by the way. They were just at that cusp where I was like, okay, we're going to get them fixed next month and everything's going to be good. And then they got pregnant. So I ended up having to raise a bunch of kittens and find good homes for those kittens, which was the hardest thing ever because there are so many stray cats, especially in my area, where my area is a dumping ground. But we found all of those kittens good homes. Yes, good homes. I do my digging, you know. I am not somebody who's just gonna give a cat away to anybody who wants it. Anyway, we got the cats fixed. They're the best in the world. They're so sweet. They're so loving. And we are currently trying to get them to move into the house. Moxie is already kind of there. She wants to be inside the majority of the time. Sweet Pea is a little scared of our dogs, but we are getting her there. Also, I have 2 bunnies. My bunnies' names are Cheech and Chong, except we thought they were both boys. One ended up being a girl, so she is now Miss Chong, Cheech and Miss Chong. They are the sweetest bunnies in the world, lazy as hell. They don't do anything. They're so lazy. But that's okay because they're happy, they're healthy, they get everything they need, everything they could ever want. They have a whole room to themselves because I do not believe in putting bunnies in cages. I think it is absolutely cruel because bunnies need to jump and run and hop and get the zoomies and things like that. And in a cage, they have absolutely no ability to do any of that. So that's my personal beliefs, but I believe bunnies do not belong in cages at all. No cages, no hutches, nothing. So they have their own room. They are litter box trained. And they're awesome. And then I have a snake, a ball python, a banana ball python named Oscar. He is so sweet, so adorable. You know what? I'll go get him. So, this is my boy Oscar. I have raised him since he was a baby. I got him from a reptile breeder in Florida. My stance on breeders is really relegated to cats and dogs. I don't have a problem with reptile breeders. In fact, I feel that the reptile keeping industry does have its flaws, but it is necessary to have breeders to avoid genetic mutations like the spider gene in ball pythons. But this is Oscar. He's the sweetest boy in the whole world. He's super chill, super relaxed. Basically lets you hold him whenever you want, even feeding day, which I don't recommend, but he does. He's just a good boy. He likes curling up on me because I'm warm. But this is Oscar. He's a banana ball python. He has a lot of cool little spots that kind of look like aliens. And that's fun. And then I have a leopard gecko named Norman, like Norman Bates. And he's super sweet, but he doesn't love to be held. So when I hold him, he unfortunately tries to escape, and I don't want to hurt him. So that's why I'm not bringing him out here. But Oscar loves attention, so that's why he's coming out here. And then along with my indoor animals, I also have 3 chickens that live outside. Their names are Tater, like potato, Tater, Beans, and Whitey. And Whitey is only named Whitey because she is white, and we could not think of a name for the longest time. And so we just called her Whitey as a placement name, you know, and eventually that just became her name because we never came up with a better name. So those are all of my pets and all of their names. I'm pretty sure that's all of them anyway. Sometimes I lose track because I have so many. But yeah, so that's all my pets. Oscar is currently climbing in my shirt, so he might hang around with us for a little bit. You know what? Actually, I'm gonna go put him away. Oh, he's wrapped around my shirt. Oh my God. Oscar. Buddy, we gotta get you out of there. I'll bring you back out. Mwah. Say goodbye, Oscar. You say goodbye. On to the next question. Sorry I've spent so much time on my animals, but they're my whole world, so, you know. Next question is from @crochet_by_Tracy. How long have you been crocheting and how did you get started? So, I have been crocheting for basically my whole life. I was not one of those people who jumped on the trend when crochet got popular again. I was taught to crochet by my grandmother when I was like so young, I barely remember, like 5 or 6 years old. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed away when I was around 8 or 9. And she was everything to me growing up, especially after my parents' divorce. So I continued to crochet for a long time. I had a friend, at the time I was living in Illinois with my parents, obviously, well, with my dad. And I had a friend when I was around 12 or 13 who wanted to start a crochet business with me. We planned on doing it. Unfortunately, that never really happened. It fell through. But that kind of reignited my love for crochet. And then I would say from like 8th grade to junior year of high school, I didn't crochet anything at all. That was a really hard time for me. I dealt with a lot of personal things at that time. A lot of personal issues that I had to overcome, that I really don't want to get into too much. But so at that time, frankly, I didn't crochet at all. Occasionally I would pick up a project and do like a couple rows on it, and then I would completely put that to the wayside and not touch it ever again. when I was 17, I moved out of my childhood home and went across the country to Alabama, where I live currently. At that time, I think the fresh start, the getting away from all the people who were bad influences or preying on my downfall, especially in my own home, getting away from all of that really reignited my love for a lot of things that I had forgotten that I loved, like art, like crochet, just a lot of things. I'm trying not to get too emotional in this video, so I'm like gonna keep it to a minimum here, but basically I fell in love with crochet again probably in 2020, 2021. At that time, I didn't plan on making a business out of it. I was just happy that I was doing it again. And actually, my first Etsy store was not crochet related at all. I started an Etsy for my oil paintings because oil painting is something that I love to do, although I don't have a lot of time for it anymore. It is the first thing that started me into wanting to do a handmade business. Unfortunately, that business didn't really go anywhere. I sold like 2 paintings, and I think a lot of people didn't want to pay that much for an oil painting when you can buy home decor and stuff at Hobby Lobby, and I really didn't find my niche. So that failed, and when that failed, I thought, well, I need to do something else. I need to start my own business. I've had multiple of my own businesses, by the way, and this is the only one that's stuck because I actually have the passion for it. So I started my crochet Etsy in 2021 or 2022, the beginning of 2022. I can't remember, but in short, I have been crocheting my whole life. And I got started because of my grandma, but there is a long, complicated story when it comes to crochet and my relationship with my art and things like that. So hopefully that was a good answer for you. I know it was a little long-winded, but I think most of these answers are going to be long-winded because I haven't really talked to you guys about my life. Everything I talk about is crochet or, you know, what I'm doing in that current moment. Anyway, on to the next question. Alyssa1233 asked, what inspired you to start crocheting? So obviously, coming from my last answer, my grandma inspired me to start crocheting. She taught me how to, but her death actually is what made me want to continue on her legacy. I inherited all of her yarn, her unfinished projects, her hooks, and everything else, and that is definitely what inspired me to keep crocheting. In fact, to this day, I still have the last ball of yarn from what was given to me when she died. And it is right here. I have been holding on to this my entire life, and I keep it right here on my desk as a reminder of where I came from and why I do what I do. So yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, that's a short answer because I already basically answered this question, but that is what inspired me to start crocheting. So next question from at acdc.rocks88. How did you start your crochet business? I love crocheting, and there's a few people who have been encouraging me to try starting my own business, but I have no business experience or knowledge. So I'm just wondering, how did you start? What did you have to do to get your business up and running? How much time and effort goes into your business? Do you think it's feasible to have a full-time job plus running a business on top? Okay, there's a lot of parts to this question. Thank you all for your questions, by the way. So I started my current crochet business because actually a couple people were asking me to make things for them after seeing me crochet in public or at the house or whatever. And after making a very, very large crochet blanket that was commissioned from me by one of our friends, I thought to myself, you know what, Sammy, your first Etsy failed as an oil painting business, but you love crochet and you've been doing this your whole life, and there is starting to be a big demand for crochet items. I think you can do this. That's what I told myself. And I decided to make a bunch of stock before ever launching my business and designing a logo and things like that. And then when I finally had everything all together, or what I thought was all together, I launched my business on Etsy. The reason I like working through Etsy is because I do not need a business license to work through Etsy. And I did, in fact, think about getting into markets, but a business license is needed to get into markets. And when I did carry a business license for a short amount of time. However, before I had ever even done a market, I had the government coming after me for money that I owed them on products that I never sold. So I nixed my business license, and I decided there is absolutely no way I can do the markets or anything like that if this is what this entails. The government coming after me every minute of my life for stuff that I have never even sold. I never even got to do my first market before the government was breathing down my neck. In short, failed oil painting business, tried to do markets, never even got a chance, and making things for friends who commissioned me pushed me in the direction of starting my own business. I don't think it's necessary to have business experience or knowledge. I do think you need to familiarize yourself with the platform that you want to sell on. Also, I think there are a lot of good YouTube videos explaining how to start a crochet business. And I don't necessarily think that I'm the most qualified person to do that. I just think you need to find your niche. Decide what you want to do, whether it's patterns, whether it's finished products, whether it's amigurumi. Find your niche and stick to it, and don't venture out too much, because visibility is everything. And if you are the girl to go to for amigurumi, that's what people are going to look to you for. If you're the girl who sells cardigans and sweaters and things like that, that's what people are going to look to you for. When you start branching out too much, people aren't going to buy those other items, and you will look kind of like you're scattered all over the place. So I think it's good to niche down, but don't niche down so much that you are getting rid of a large population of your customer base. I hope that makes sense. I think I've already answered how I started. What did I have to do to get my business up and running? Basically, I had to make a lot of inventory. I made a lot of different things to try and figure out what my niche was going to be. I actually started with amigurumi, and I never enjoyed making amigurumi, really, but I thought that's what would sell because everybody on YouTube was selling amigurumi. Come to find out, that was not my niche. I did sell a lot of my amigurumi, but once I started posting hats and things like that, I found out that hats are definitely my number one seller, and that's my niche, and I enjoy making them. So you need to have a logo, you need to have a business name, you need to know where you're going to sell your items and what you're going to sell. That is like the baseline, what you need to start your business. Also, I suggest that you stock up on yarn. I know a lot of people have a lot of things to say about overconsumption, And I completely understand that argument. But when you run a crochet business and you are making things 24/7, you need a lot of stock of yarn. Also, you need to figure out if you want to do finished products or if you want to take custom orders or if you want to do a little bit of both. There's just a lot that goes into it, but I think there are many good YouTube videos that encompass all of that a lot better than I could ever. And then, how much time and effort goes into your business? This is a tricky one because does it take less time than a 9 to 5? Yes. Does it take less effort though? I don't know about that. I design everything myself unless I buy a pattern, in which case I have to learn the pattern. I have to familiarize myself with all of my projects. Also, I hand make every single product that comes out of my shop. It is definitely time consuming. It takes a lot of effort. It really does. Especially when you're trying to keep your shop stocked at all times. That means you are constantly crocheting. I would say I devote like 80% of my day to crocheting unless I have a lot of other things I need to do. Now, having that flexibility is something that's nice, but it's not something that everybody can do, you know? And looking at the last part of your question, do I think it's feasible to have a full-time job plus running a business on top? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. And I don't recommend that somebody quit their job to start a crochet business unless you already have some backing. Not monetarily, but I mean, like you have built up your stock and you have started getting orders and you think that you can make it a full-time job. That's when I think you should quit your job and do this, you know? But it is a lot harder to run a crochet business if you have a full-time job. You basically would have to devote all of your hours that are not at your job to crochet. And so what I would say is it's definitely possible. If you put your mind to anything, you can do it, you know? But I don't necessarily feel like starting a large-scale crochet business would be the right option for somebody who has a full-time job. I think maybe doing custom orders here and there, and setting your production times to be longer would be beneficial. But I don't have a full-time job, and I am not really built for the 9 to 5 lifestyle, so I would say I hustle for a living. I do a lot of different things for a living, plus I don't have to pay for a lot of things because I live with the man and I'm basically a stay-at-home animal mom, homemaker. I'm a homemaker. So I don't have to wrestle with the full-time job crochet business, I had the luxury of doing this as often as I want, whenever I want, and taking breaks whenever I want. But I do a lot of other things as well. I have a part-time, I wouldn't even call it a part-time job. A couple times a week, I have to do a little bit of work for an entertainer coach company. Basically, tour buses. Like, if you wonder how your favorite singers get to and from a show, that's a company that I work for. But I am a independent contractor. I do not work for anybody except myself. And I've been doing that now for like 4 years or something like that, but I only do it like for an hour 2 times a week. Yeah, but aside from doing that, I also I am a Depop seller. I know that somebody asked me on my last video what my Depop is. I believe it's graveyard_BBY or something like that. I sell on Depop. I make a decent amount of money on that, but like I said, I don't pay any bills really except for my phone bill, and I don't have to. But the dream would be to make enough money doing YouTube and my crochet business and my Depop. But yeah, so do I think it's feasible to have a crochet business and have a full-time job? Yes, but you have to realize what goes into having a crochet business and the amount of time and effort that goes into it. I have the time to give every day of my life to this business, but a lot of people don't. And that's just something you need to think about. Okay, and the final question. The final question is from @It'sViviIRL. I used to love watching paranormal movies. I love your channel. Thank you. Can we see the bunnies? Of course! Of course you can. I'm gonna have to bring my phone into the bunny room, and the lighting is probably not gonna be very good in there, but it'll be like a quick introduction. Cheech doesn't love being held. Miss Chong is pretty good with it, but yeah. Alrighty guys, I am currently in the bunny room. Obviously, the lighting's kind of bad in here, but I didn't want to bring in one of my big floodlights or anything like that because I don't want to bother the bunnies that much. So, I got a bag of treats here. Come here. Come here. So, this one is Cheech. He is a sweet boy who, frankly, hates getting picked up. Over here. And then Miss Chong. Miss Chong. So this is Miss Chong. They are Flemish Giant mixes. I thought they were fully Flemish Giants. Unfortunately, they didn't get as big as we thought they were going to get, but they are huge. She is a little sweetie. There's a little Chichi Michi. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. He's sweet, but he doesn't like to be picked up, so I'm not even going to try. He's a good boy, though. Hey, buddy. And Miss Chong, the sweetie, the little sweetie muffin. It's kind of hard to film them. They don't love being picked up. Miss Chong's okay with it, but she also like panics a little when you pick her up. They're really big bunnies, so they're very hard to pick up. Like I said, they are giant breeds. They are mixes, but they are giant breeds. We were told they were fully Flemish Giant rabbits. Once they were full grown, we kind of realized that they probably are not full-blooded Flemish Giant. They probably are part Flemish Giant. There's hair everywhere. They're probably part Flemish Giant, but they are not fully Flemish Giant. And the lady that we got them from in a small town like 3 hours north of here had them on a farm in pretty disgusting conditions, to be honest. It made me very sad to leave all of their siblings behind, but she had a clear breeding problem that I think got a little out of hand for her, and she was basically just like trying to give these bunnies away. So especially in a place like Alabama, that's really scary because a lot of those bunnies end up becoming meat bunnies, and I do not agree with that whatsoever. So unfortunately, I don't know where a lot of their siblings went or if they even went to good homes, but more than likely they didn't. So, as you can see, I am now covered in bunny hair. But those are the bunnies. I really wish it was more exciting for you guys, but they're sweet as can be, but they don't love being picked up, so it's a little harder to show footage of them, especially when it's like the middle of the day. At night, they're a lot calmer. They have a lot less energy at night, but right now they're kind of doing their crazy thing, which, frankly, they sleep like, I don't know, I want to say like 20 hours a day. Like, they're very chill bunnies, and they have like a few hours of the day where there are their like crazy hours, and right now it is that time. So unfortunately, I didn't get very good footage of them, but they are happy and healthy and big and fat, and that is how they should be. So guys, hopefully I answered all of your questions, and hopefully I gave enough of an answer for all of them. I tried to answer them to the best of my ability. If you have any more questions or you want me to do a part 2 to this series, please leave a comment below. I'm very much so open to doing a part 2, or even making this a series if there's enough questions. I kind of plan on doing one of these at every milestone. So, like, I did, this one was for 500 subscribers. When I hit 1,000, I may do another Q&A. But if you want a part 2 to this specific video, I am more than happy to answer any more of your questions that you have. Also, if there are more questions that have been posted on the previous video after I had started filming this already, I will answer all of those in part 2 as well. Just kind of depends on how many questions I get. So with all of that being said, I just want to say one more time, thank you so very much for 500 subscribers. You guys mean the absolute world to me. I am so thankful for you guys. And if you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. It would mean the absolute world to me. And if you like this video and you'd like to see more from me, leave a like, comment, and maybe share with your friends. I would love to have some more crochet girlies added to my little squad here on YouTube. And if you would like to see more from me, I will have my socials linked down below, my TikTok and my Instagram. And if you would like to buy any of my finished products, my Etsy is also linked down below. So guys, I will see you all in the next video. Mwah! Bye guys.